We have a little problem with the Bible. Okay, you know that?
Just a little one.
Just a little one, right?
Well, I'm glad it's a little one.
Right. When I was doing this book on Philemon and everything, I did a little on Colossians because they're connected, because Philemon lived in Colossae. At the end of Colossians, Colossians chapter 4, I think it's 15 and 16, Paul says, take this letter, Colossians, and read it to the church in Laodicea. And the letter I wrote to Laodicea, read it in the church of Colossae. Where is the letter of the Laodiceans? We have Galatians, Ephesians, right? Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians, but no Laodiceans. So where is it?
Returned undeliverable.
Return to sender. Right.
Yeah.
So where is it?
Yeah.
Is it lost?
It apparently lost.
So we don't need it, or would it be nice to have? Or maybe Paul said something there that, gambling's okay, Take a drag, gambling's okay, right? What if he wrote that to the Laodiceans and we don't have it? And we've been good all this time and we really didn't have to.
I'm not thinking that is probably anything that he would have ever written. But so you're throwing out there, it's missing, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay.
Unless we have it already. Unless it has another name. And what name would that be, Mr. Vernick?
I'm waiting for with bated
You got to come to a Cape Bible Seminary class and we'll go through this point by point, right?
Yeah. Come to South Africa and get these answers.
There you go. See? Otherwise you can't have them. Otherwise you got to pay.
You do this all the time.
I do this all the time. We do have it. It's called Ephesians. The book of Ephesians, I believe, is a letter that Paul wrote to the Laodiceans, and it was a circular letter. You compare all the other Paul's letters, he greets specific people. Greet so-and-so, greet so-and-so. He doesn't do that in Ephesians. He just said, this is to the church in Ephesus and blah, blah, blah. He doesn't greet that. At the end of the letter, he gives you the people who are with him. And they're the same people that are in Philippians and in, not Philippians, they're in Colossians and in Philemon. There might be one or two names missing there, but that's what it is. So you have the letter that's just called under another name. There's a lot more reasons for that, but basically that's what it is, Mr. Vernick.
And now centuries of mystery has just been solved.
That's right. And I won't charge anybody.
And I don't have to go to South Africa at this time.
Oh yes, but I got other questions.
Which I do have to go to South Africa.
Yes, you have to go to South Africa for.
Yeah.
Because that's just a simple thing. So now I have to write another book.
And
Philemon
that
Part 2.
leads us into the next question is, you did just write a book, did you
Yes,
not?
called My Brother Philemon, because I'm a frustrated reader, okay? I read Paul's letter to Philemon about 20 years ago, about 22 years ago, and I had all these questions in my mind after I read the letter. I read it again and again and again, but I didn't get any answer to the questions that I wanted. The basic one was very simple. The church, they had house churches in those days. They didn't have a building. The first church building was built was 400 years after Christ died. They met in homes. They met in the courtyard of the temple for the Jews. They met next to rivers, wherever they could find a place. And the Christians went from house to house daily. Not all of them, but those that could. And there, every day, they worshiped God. They shared the Lord's table. They were steadfast in prayer, and they taught apostles' doctrine. That's exactly what a church is. I don't believe there was ever was a sermon preached in any of those churches. I believe they taught like Jesus did, by discourse. Here's the thing, what do you think? And people would feed back to them. So the church met in the home of Philemon. And if it was a Christian home, why did Onesimus run away? That was the slave. He stole money and he ran away. So why did he run away? He meets Paul somehow in Rome. Paul teaches him the gospel. Onesimus becomes a Christian. Philemon's already a Christian, and Paul converted him too. So now he has two men that he converted. So what does he do to Onesimus? Sends him back to his slave owner with the letter that Tychicus wrote, that Tychicus carried with him. Onesimus accompanied this letter back to Colossae. So is it okay for Paul to interfere in a local church situation? Number one. Number two, nowhere in the letter does Paul say, hey, Phil, it's not good for you to, as a Christian, to own another Christian. He didn't say that. So that means it's okay that I can have slaves too. I really need a couple of slaves. If you know some people that are willing to sell up, I really need a couple of good slaves. Paul never condemned slavery at all, anywhere in the scriptures. Second thing is, He didn't write to Philemon and say, listen, Onesimus has been a bad guy, he's a bad slave, a bad servant, he stole money from you, so I think you need a little discipline here to show him that the course of his actions, the result of his actions are not good. He didn't say that either. In fact, Paul doesn't make any demands whatsoever of Philemon. So why write the letter? What was the reason he wrote the letter? Well, I went out and I bought every single commentary I could find on Philemon, every single one. And they all say the basic same story. Philemon, known as a slave, called Onesimus, stole money, ran away, became a Christian, went back. That's it. There's no analysis of anything. This was not just a personal problem. This was a church problem. The church met in Philemon's home. If Onesimus came back and Philemon welcomed him with open arms, like a Christian might do, like the prodigal son, the other slave owners, not only in Colossae, but in Hierapolis and Laodicea, which weren't far away, would say, hey, whoa, whoa, Philemon, what are you doing? You can't have a slave run away, come back, and welcome him with open. What about our homes? What about us? And there were other Christians who might own slaves there too. So this was a larger problem than just two men. So I had to write the book myself. So it was published last year by the Cape Bible Seminary, called My Brother Philemon.
And if you want to know the answers,
you got to buy the book.
Got to get the book.
Or you can come to a Cape Bible Seminary.
Or come, yeah.
One of the two. So now I got to write another book.
I'll be looking forward to seeing that.
It took me 22 years to do the first one.
Well, I got a little bit to wait then.
Yeah, coming soon. In 22 years' time. Wait for it. Philemon 2, second one, part 2.